In today's video, we're going to go over how to make this exact Houston Kold edit. The free project file will be in the description. Leave a like if you liked the video. Feel free to subscribe if you want more content like this. Now let's get right to it. So I've got the edit that I remade from Houston in my After Effects file. And it's just a standard 1920 by 1080 composition with a 24-second frame rate. So let's get into it. You can see the squiggly line kind of animate in. So let's draw that. I'm going to go to New Shape Layer. I've got the pen tool selected, P. Now I'm just going to drag and kind of hold it the way I like it. Something like that. And I've got the stroke width at 10 with no fill. And now we can go into that, hit add, go into trim path, and then it starts right about here, right? So we'll go from keyframe the end to 0. Let's move it back a bit maybe, and then go to the where it's kind of finished, and then turn the opacity to 100. And now we have it animating in. You can hit F9 to easy ease the keyframes, but I just use this plugin, Flow, to make it quicker. So now I'm going to add this tired of your text. So make a new text layer. We'll change it to something like Bebis. Then change the fill to white. Obviously, we'll scale it up a bit, even though it's not a 3D layer. So let's make a new camera layer now, 50mm preset. And let's turn both of these layers to 3D. So once they're both 3D, you can make let's make a background layer. So I've just got a new solid layer, black. I'm going to pull up gradient ramp. And then you can see on the original video how it's black at the top and then red kind of through the middle. And then I'm going to throw on a gradient later down here, but for now we'll just do this part. So yeah, let's go into here. That the black is good for the most part, and then just pick like a dark red, something like that. Now let's move it behind everything. Turn it to 3D. And now we have this so far. Let's actually move that line a bit there. Okay, cool. So now we have both of those 3D, or all three of the layers 3D, I should say. So now we're going to animate the camera. So you can see how it zooms out from the start, right? So let's do that. I've got a keyframe at the start of the composition. And now I'm just going to do something like that, say. And then let's go to where it's kind of zoomed out, right? Somewhere around here. It kind of finishes zooming out. So let's keyframe that. Scale the background way up because it's small, too small, obviously. See how the tired of yours kind of over here, right? So we can just do that. That'll help us kind of line up the movement. So we'll just have it kind of, I think it's got to be zoomed out more. And then maybe let's turn that off 3D for now. We should also add in that red box that pops up. So let's do that. New shape layer. Let's drag it just behind the tired of your text. And now grab the rectangle and draw in a rectangle, something like that. Solid color. We'll take off the stroke. And it starts animating in right around here. So we'll go to the scale. We'll unclick the uniform scale button, and then we'll keyframe the scale. And then make sure your anchor point is in the middle of the red rectangle. And now we can scale it like this, because that's how it scales in the original video. You can kind of see how it starts like that, and then the width goes up, right? So let's just do that. So it starts maybe like that. We can also just move the thing over so that it comes in at this frame. Then we'll just go a few frames forward and just increase the scale like that. And we'll kind of center it up. Make sure to make that a rectangle 3D and then just line it up. So now we have something like this so far.
If you're tired of your potential clients leaving you on
pretty bad so far. I'm going to easy ease the keyframes on the camera movement too, just so it looks way better. You can also see the tired of your text animates in, kind of letter by letter. So I'm just going to use a quick kind of preset to do that from Animation Composer, which is a free plugin for the most part. So you can use this too. I'm going to use this. You can look at the original, and in the original it stops, it finishes animating like right about here. So we can just drag that over.
If you're tired of your potential client,
Now we have something like that. I'm actually going to change the graph of the camera keyframes to something like that. So it zooms out really quick and then it eases out slower.
if you're tired of your potential,
Something like that. You can also see how I've got these rectangles kind of in it to just add some depth, because it's kind of like that in the original video. So I'm going to make a new shape layer. I'm going to drag it behind the camera. I'm going to grab the rectangle tool. Then just draw in some rectangles. Take off the fill and just add a solid stroke. We'll just change it to some red. Maybe increase it to like 13. Make them 3D. And then I'm just going to rotate it a bit to something like that. Doesn't matter too much. Let's actually take the stroke down a bit to 10. Now I'm just going to Command D to duplicate that. And then I'm going to take that duplicate and then just kind of move it up here. Let's just rotate it a bit. Add some variation, something like that. Looks bad right now, but it'll look really good towards the end of the video. But now we have those. So let's actually just select both of them and move them back on the Z axis quite a bit just to add some more depth. And then just scale them up and kind of reposition them. So once you've got them positioned kind of properly and the scale down, good, you should have something like this.
if you're tired of your potential clients leaving,
So cool. Now let's go back to the original video and you can see those guys in here, right? With the potential clients text. So let's do that. I've got this random dude that I made with Midjourney. You can get from the project file in the description. But yeah, so I've dragged them in here. I'm gonna move them down. And now I am going to turn them to 3D layer and then zoom them quite a bit back on the Z and scale them down. So let's see how that looks.
if you're tired of your potential clients leaving,
I think that's good. So we'll make 2 duplicates. So Command D, and then we'll take one and zoom him back a bit and then just have him like that over to the side, I think, something like that, right? For now. And then we'll take another one, also zoom him back and then just put him to the side. I'm also going to scale the 2 duplicates down a bit. I'm going to add in these question marks that are on their heads. I've got a question mark here with the Pacifico font. And then I'm just going to change the fill to something like that, red. and it's also not in 3D, so hit 3D. And then we'll kind of steal the position from each dude. So we'll go into the position from there and copy it and then paste it onto this guy, kind of. And then just move it over. Now let's duplicate it also like twice, right? So just make sure you copy over the question marks from this original one and change the fill to something like white. And then just change the position on the Z axis to each layer, each guy's Z position and just line it up and then you'll be good to go. So once you've got them all positioned properly, you can pre-compose them. I don't know why I have an extra one, but that doesn't matter. Screw it. So yeah, go into the composition settings and change the width and height to something like 5,000 by 5,000, just so it's big enough. And then hit 3D on that composition. And now let's get back to lining it up so it kind of looks right. But you can see how it covers like the rectangle thing, right? So let's just scale it up on the Z and then scale it back down. Something like that, probably.
if you're tired of your potential clients leaving,
So let's add in a new camera movement. So let's make a new null, which will just help us animate it easier and it'll look better. And then parent the camera to the null. Let's go into the null, make it 3D, keyframe the position somewhere before the original camera movement stops animating, and then keyframe somewhere along the road, just somewhere like here for now. And then let's kind of match up that movement, something like that. So again, I'm just going to ease those keyframes. So now we have this kind of nice little movement.
if you're tired of your potential clients leaving you on scene,
We can mess with the speed of it later, but at least we have the position kind of proper. So now let's make a new text layer. So Command T, and then we'll type in potential, change that to like medium. Let's move it behind the camera, make it 3D. And then we'll duplicate it and then just move it down, change it to clients. So you can see how Let's zoom it back on the Z a ton. And it's got to be a bit behind their heads a bit. Just a bit, so we can just see where it kind of stops, right? Like right around here. So just scale them up and change the Z position to something where it kind of lines up, right? To something like this. Okay, that looks good enough for the sake of the video. So now we have that in, and you can see how clients, the opacity comes in. It's not like there the whole time. Go into the opacity of the client's layer, and then just keyframe it, go to 0, then make it somewhere 100 opacity. And now we have this.
Your potential clients leaving you.
Make it a bit earlier though. So I'm actually gonna change the opacity of all this other stuff besides this new kind of graphic, potential clients and the guys. So let's select everything that we've done so far, really. And then just keyframe the opacity at 100. And then go to 0 a couple frames forward. Let's move it back maybe. So yeah, now we have, it's easier to focus on this new stuff. These guys are pretty blurry at the start. So let's just pull up a Gaussian blur, turn up the blur quite a bit, and then just keyframe the opacity of that. So we'll go into the Gaussian blur, blurriness, and then like make it 0 right about here, something like that.
If you're tired of your potential clients leaving you on scene in
Let's go look at the original. And you can see how there's this glitch effect, right, that comes in on the people, or everything, really. So unfortunately, I'm going to use a paid plugin, but if you had to have it, it's really good. I recommend you get it, actually, probably. So yeah, I'm going to go into Red Giant Universe, it's called. And then I've just pulled up this glitch effect from Red Giant, and I've keyframed the mix of the glitch, just so it glitches right when I want it, pretty much, and then it disappears. So I'm just going to copy that. What I've done, you can copy my settings if you have the plugin, and then I'm going to go to the clients, potential clients, and just pre-compose them. Again, change the composition size to something really big. Whoops. Then I'm going to go back to that pre-comp. Just paste the same thing. Make sure your pre-comp is 3D again. It's actually changed the Z position so that it's kind of lined up properly again. So we'll go right behind there. Let's move it up a bit. And now we have this.
If you're tired of your potential clients leaving you on scene,
I'm going to add in a black gradient on the bottom. I'm just a random gradient I made in Photoshop. So yeah, I'm just going to drag it in and then move it down a bit. Something like this. Just helps you focus on everything better. And I think I'm going to go into the original gradient and maybe change the color a bit to a bit of a brighter red. So yeah, now let's make another camera movement. Let's go into null. Now let's parent that null we made earlier to the new null. And then similar to before, we'll go in just before that null finishes animating. Turn that null to 3D and then just keyframe it. It's hard to see, but we'll go here for now. Just keyframe it and then move it over quite a bit. Then zoom in, I think. Something like that. And then in the original video, obviously it changes the black, everything to black right about here. So let's go into the original black background and pull up the gradient ramp, sorry. And then we'll just keyframe the end color to red to like black next frame or two over. And like I said earlier, we should change the camera movement timing just so it's a bit quicker. So right about here, it's zoomed out fully in the original, but I think it has to move over quicker, right? So to do that, let's just move the second null's keyframe back and then grab like the new null and move everything a bit back. So now it's better, right?
your potential clients leaving you on scene.
And like I did earlier, I'm gonna mess around with the ease of the keyframes. And now we just have to add this text message scene. So we'll make a new text layer and then leaving you on scene, make it 3D. And then it comes in like right about here. Let's see how, yeah, I think that might be good, the position. And then let's scale it down quite a bit. And I don't like, you can still see the tired thing, right? So let's change all those keyframes earlier of the opacity. Just move it back. Actually, let's move the whole thing quite a bit back. Cool. And this leaving you on scene text animates in. See that? And it's not even leaving you on scene. It's just leaving you on. So let's change that. Let's move it over. And then, like I said, yeah, let's animate the letters in. So we'll go into animate, go into opacity, and then change it down to 0. And then go to where you want it to start animating in. Keyframe that. And then just move forward, change the opacity or change the start movement to 100. So now we have that. Now let's do the last little camera movement. So we'll make a new null, one last null. Parent the previous null to it, and then make it 3D. So we'll open the previous null's position, keyframe it, and then we'll zoom in a bit. Once you've got your position, your keyframes in, ease them. And now we have this so far, just to see where we're at.
If you're tired of your potential clients leaving you on scene in a DM.
So that looks pretty good. I'm gonna move that out quite a bit though. So now let's add in those text bubbles. That's actually just keyframe the opacity of this. So right about here, it's like 100. And then we'll just keyframe it down to 0. And yeah, those text bubbles, let's get those in. So let's go to new shape layer. We'll change the fill to this kind of blue, this apple blue. So now let's draw in the messages. Take off the stroke and then just increase the roundness a ton. So make a new text layer and we'll type in hello, exclamation marks. Screw it. So let's scale it up to make it kind of aligned with the text, with the bubble thing. So we can even align them before we go into 3D. So let's do that. Should also change the font to something like Arial bold. Let's duplicate that text layer and then just scale it down quite a bit. And then, hey, do you want to work with me? Scale it down more. Now we'll draw in another text bubble. So we'll go into new shape layer, then just draw it in. Let's align the two layers again. Let's increase the roundness to the max. Cool. So now let's make them kind of lined up properly, and then we'll make them 3D. So let's pre-comp each thing. So I'm just gonna maybe zoom down both a bit. So it looks a bit something like this in the original, right? So once we've got those, let's position them properly. Let's make them 3D, both 3D. See where the hell they went. Okay, so leaving you on, let's kind of rotate them a bit. I think it's rotated just a bit in the original. Looks better too. So let's increase the scale maybe a bit and let's position them properly. And let's keyframe the opacity from 0 here to 100, maybe around here. So now we have this so far.
If you're tired of your potential clients leaving you on scene in the DMs, this
cool. Actually gonna go to the last null and just move, not the last one, sorry, but the previous one, and just move it forward a bit. It's also the sky and a square little cutout thing, right? So let's do that. Got that video in here now. I'm just gonna mask it. So I'm gonna go to Q and then just draw like something like a square. Right, that looks like a square. Cool. And then make it 3D, drag it back over. And we'll see maybe where these layers are on the Z-axis. So, and then just copy it over and then just scale it down quite a bit. And also steal the rotation, so 17. Then we'll go into hue and saturation and decrease saturation because it's not saturated in the original. So let's see what we have. Something like that, right? Let's keyframe the opacity on it, 0 to 100, right? It's also these random lines that Houston kind of has around this scene. Let's go into new shape layer, grab the pen tool, and just draw something like this, maybe. Change it to white. make it 3D. Whoops. Let's move it way forward on the Z. Let's keyframe the opacity here again, once again. So we have something like this so far. It's pretty much done.
If you're tired of your potential clients leaving you on scene in the DMs, this is for you.
Let's start adding in some effects that Houston is really known for, right? Because right now it looks good, but it's not Houston quality yet. Select everything, and then make sure they all have motion blur on. You don't have to render with motion blur right away, but don't forget. And then let's make a new comp. Once you've made a new comp, drag in the previous comp that you've just been working in, and then let's start adding some adjustment layers. So the first thing I'm gonna add is Deep Glow, which is a paid plugin. Unfortunately, it's really good. Get it again, but you can also use another glow or the built-in After Effects glow. But yeah, it just adds a really nice glow effect to everything and kind of makes it a more cohesive look. Everyone's using it. Then make a new adjustment layer, and I've just got a vignette on it, CC vignette, built-in After Effects vignette. Then make a new adjustment layer. I've got this turbulent noise effect from Red Giant with these settings. I've also got it on soft light, but it just adds a bit of like noise, right, to the image, like a bit of movement. And I've also got the evolution keyframed. So yeah, I've keyframed the evolution. So see how we're getting a bit of movement on everything? That's too much, too visible. I'll change it to something like 30. And then also another effect from Red Giant, but it's just a chromatic abrasion. You can get a free one online. That works great too. But these are my settings. But it just adds a nice RGB split that you can kind of see here, and it distorts the sides of the composition. Like a lens, I guess you could say. Like, see how I can change the amount, but like that's like an extreme fisheye kind of lens. And I've got another plugin from Red Giant. It's called VHS, but it's just like adds like a vintage kind of VHS look to it. You can see with the it's a subtle detail, but yeah, add some grain and like a bit of glitching to it. Just gonna turn the opacity down way more. But yeah, and then one last effect from Red Giant also is a glitch effect, and it just adds in like very subtle glitches to everything. We can actually increase the frequency maybe just to show you. But yeah, see how it glitched there? Turn it way up way more. Glitch speed maybe. See all those little glitches? I think that's the last effect Houston kind of uses. So yeah, I think that's it for the video. I hope you got some value from it. You can leave a like if you want, subscribe if you want. Yeah, thanks for watching. Peace.